Hi friends, today we are going to make one of my favorite recipes. It is homemade tortillas. There's only a handful of ingredients, and you probably have most of these on hand. So it's a super simple recipe. The longest part is actually rolling out the dough. So that's gonna take some time depending on how many tortillas you anticipate to make. I usually make a large amount of this recipe, like I double, triple, quadruple it sometimes, and then I freeze the leftovers. So today we're going to start with a cup and a half of flour. You're going to put them into your mixing bowl, and then we might need some extra flour later, so I'm just going to add that into my my flour cup. The next thing you're going to do is you are going to take half a teaspoon of baking soda and dump that in there, and half a teaspoon of salt. I use pink Himalayan salt, so sometimes I end up with like little pink or red splotches in my tortillas. And then you're going to take your whisk and you're just going to blend it together so that the salt and baking powder get everywhere. Okay. And now, yes. Now make sure your hands are clean, because the next thing we are going to do is add the canola oil. You're going to add 3 tablespoons canola oil, and this part you have to do by hand. Before I add that though, I'm going to get my hot water too, so that it can be completely seamless. I just use hot water from the sink, and you you're just going to want half a cup of hot water. Okay. So you're going to take your canola oil and your 3 tablespoons of canola oil. You're going to slowly drizzle it into the bowl, and then you're going to start stirring with your hand. And you want it to resemble like finely coarse crumbs. So you're going to pour it all in there and stir it. We're stirring, we're stirring, we're stirring. I don't know if you can see that, how it's like all crumbly looking. Kind of like when you add butter into a recipe to make, what do we make? When you add butter into a recipe and you're just supposed to like do it like this, it'll just resemble like finely coarse crumbs. Then you're going to take your hot water. I choose to use my hand. You can probably use a spoon, but I feel like you don't get it as well. You're going to pour that in. You're going to continue to mix it. And I have my extra flour over here in case the cup is, in case the flour is too wet. If the dough is too wet. Because you're going to mix it together and you are going to make a dough. We're making the dough for the tortillas, and then it is going to rest for 30 minutes. So then we're gonna cover it with plastic wrap. Okay. I think I need a little bit more water because my dough is a little crumbly and falling apart, so I'm gonna get a little bit more hot water. Just gonna add a little bit. Usually I have to add more flour, not water. There we go. Okay, so now it's all sticking together. But now I definitely can see that I have to add more flour. Just gonna take some from my flour cup. Take some. Mix it in. Mix it in. More flour. Because it's still sticking to my hands and you don't want that. When you have a great You know your dough is good when it's not sticking to your hands, but it's also not like kicking everywhere. You want a nice, moist dough that that wants to just be in a ball, and that is easy to get into a ball like this. Can you guys see that? I mean, it's not the prettiest thing, but it will do. And so after that, we'll take our plastic wrap. I think it's plastic wrap because plastic wrap holds the heat in. Take our plastic wrap and you are going to put it over your bowl. Now, sometimes I take a rubber band and use it over the bowl, but this is just going to be quick today. Sometimes I let it set longer for 30 minutes depending on how my day is going because I have children and a life, and my life does not revolve around my dough. So you're gonna take it, put it in your bowl, put your plastic wrap over it, and then we're gonna wait 30 minutes. And what you can do in that time is prep a surface to roll your dough out on. You're going to need a what are those dough rollers called? Rolling pin. That's the word of the day, boys and girls, rolling pin. So you're going to need a rolling pin to flatten your dough out on. So first, find yourself a clean surface. It could look like a cutting board if you don't have a whole lot of space. I use my marble countertop because it's a really nice surface to roll these out on. So you're going to have a clean surface, and then you're going to gently sprinkle some flour on it because we don't want our dough to stick as we roll it out, okay? So I'm going to set this over here. And then I'm going to go wash my hands, and I will see you back here in 30 minutes, okay? Hey, so we've waited our 30 minutes or more, give or take, for our tortilla dough to dry. And then make sure that you have your clean, lightly floured surface. I'm just going to spread my flour on my surface. And a rolling pin. Our word of the day is rolling pin. And you're going to put some flour on the rolling pin too. Just because you don't want it sticky. So you're going to take your dough out of the bowl. And then you are going to separate it into balls. You're going to knead the dough a little bit. And you are going to make balls. You can make them, I make mine, well, the recent ones I've been making are about that size. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller, depending on how big you want them. One thing that you need to remember is that after you roll your tortillas out and let them sit while you're rolling the rest out, the gluten relaxes a bit, and so then they become stretchy and they can get like really big depending on how long they've been sitting there resting. So right now we are going to roll these out after I finish getting this made into balls. After we make this into balls, we are going to you're gonna roll it out. This one's a little small, so I'm gonna add a little more to it. And so when you break the dough apart, it does look like this. Don't worry about that. It'll be fine. It will be fine. Got like 2 more balls to make. Okay. Now, I like to set my balls over to the side of my workspace because I like to roll things flat out. Ooh, that's a tiny one. We missed that. Take some from you. And a little from you. Okay, a lot more from you. I don't know what happened to this one. But okay, great. You don't have to like It's not like when you make bread dough. You don't have to knead this a whole lot. It's fine. Trust me. But you want to make sure that you have enough flour on your surface. And then you just take your ball and you roll it out. Now, one of the things I find that I struggle with is getting the tortilla into an actual circle shape. Mine tend to be like oblong and rectangular, and that's okay. Don't stretch it right now. You're just going to lay it on a part of your floured surface, and then we're going to roll them out. Here's my second one. See, this is more of a triangle. When you first start, you might end up rolling it out thick, but you want it, kind of want it like this thin. I don't know if you can see how thin that is. You kind of want it that thin, and then I'll show you when we go to cook these how they stretch out. So now that our tortillas are all rolled out and flat, you can see that they start to stretch a little bit. The gluten has relaxed, so they will become a bigger size if you stretch them out. And they cook beautifully. Over here, you'll see I layered some of mine. I just, because I ran out of space here, so I just sprinkled some flour on them and then stacked them gently on top of each other so that they won't stick. So now we are going to take this tortilla over to our pre-warmed skillet or frying pan. And make sure it's like on a medium heat, not too high because then you're going to burn the tortilla. If it's too low, they won't cook as quick. Now, I stretched it too thin and I made a hole. So what's great about this is you can just like pinch it back together. So don't worry about if you accidentally stretched it too thin. Not a big deal. Just pinch it back together. So come follow me. And gently set that in the pan. And then I'm actually going to grab another one because this pan's big enough for me to make two. And then watch for the bubbles to rise. Oops. That one's stuck on there, and we don't want to overlap them because they won't cook. So you wait, see the little bubbles? I don't know if you can see those tiny little bubbles. You can wait for them to get a little bigger without singeing the other side of the tortilla. And then you just flip it over and cook the other side. And then I'm going to do the same with this one. See how this guy's getting the little bubbles over here? Sometimes they get bigger, sometimes they don't. And then you just flip it. This dough doesn't have any like egg or dairy in it, so if it's not completely cooked, that's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not like you're gonna have food poisoning for eating some flour and oil and water raw. So sometimes mine don't get completely cooked, but when I defrost them or put them in the microwave, it finishes for them. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and cook all of our tortillas, and then I'm going to show you what I'm doing with my tortillas tonight. We're going to take a pizza cutter, we're going to cut up the cooked ones, and then we are going to put them in some hot oil to make our own chips. Okay, so I will see you as soon as we're done, cooking all of these, because it is a little time consuming, but totally worth it. So now that we've made our tortillas, we are going to make some chips because I think it's awesome. So you're gonna need something to cut this on. I use a cutting board, and And I like to use a pizza cutter because it just slices straight through. You can stack a couple if you want. Oh, that's a little crunchy. I thought those were a little too long. If you do think that your tortillas are a little too crispy, go ahead and just throw them in the microwave on the defrost setting. And it should soften them right up. So let's go put these in some hot oil and fry them up. I don't have an oil fryer, so I just use my stove. See how they get more bubbles in them as they get fried. So yummy. Flip, flip, flip. That puffs right up. I love this part. It just hits. Oh, look at this one. Look how puffy that is. Just flip them, flip them, flip them. And then transfer them to some paper towels to soak up some of that oil. And yeah, awesome. So now you know how to make tortillas. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment and ask me. I'll help you out as best I can. And I hope that your tortillas are as amazing as you think they are. Okay, thanks for watching.